it was just the job of humans to go sit in conference rooms, get on Zoom calls and be like, what's our story? How do we talk to people? Let's put that into Notion and Google Docs and PowerPoints. And it gets in all these places. And you couldn't really orchestrate the message into this kind of modern stack.
This episode is brought to you by Warmly. Warmly is an AI-powered GTM assistant that helps your outbound team stop wasting time and start targeting the right people at the right time. Here's the play. Your SDRs open LinkedIn, and instead of cold scrolling, they get real-time signals like who is researching solutions like yours, who just switched jobs, or who recently viewed your site. No CRM updates, no lead lists, just useful context surfaced where they already work. If you're doing outbound in 2025 and not using Warmly, you are behind. Try it for free at www.warmly.ai. In this episode of the GTM Engineering Podcast, I talked to Zach Vidibor, co-founder of Octave. We kicked things off differently this time by unpacking what Octave actually is. Zach walked me through how they're building a messaging brain for GTM teams, a platform that helps define your ICP, use cases, value props, and proof points, then powers agents to drive personalized outbound, better lead qualification, and more contextual activation. At the heart of it is a simple insight. Today's messaging lives in docs, decks, and people's heads. Octave turns that chaos into structured context you can deploy at scale with no more static templates and merge tags. We explored the shift from infantry and artillery to lean AI-powered GTM teams, why we are moving towards SEAL Team 6 models, and how tooling like Octave enables non-technical PMMs and marketers to orchestrate messaging like engineers. Zach also shared a powerful growth tactic, layering sales assist campaigns alongside lifecycle marketing in PLG motions. By combining product usage data with technographic enrichment, one customer saw a 30% lift in meetings booked, just by showing prospects they'd done their homework. If your MQLs are collecting dust or your outbound still reads like a mad lib, you'll want to hear this one. Here's my conversation with Zach. Zach, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Excited to chat.
Likewise. We usually don't start episodes like this, but I will make an exception because I would like to know what you folks are building at Octave, and I would also like people to who listen and tune in to know what Octave is, what it does, main use cases, and so on.
There. Well, thank you for making me feel special right away. I won't abuse the privilege of getting to talk about Octave. What we're trying to build is a platform to help companies with their messaging and positioning. So like, how do you generate your ICP definition from the perspective of the question like you asked me, like, what do you do? Who's it for? What are the problems you solve? How do you uniquely solve them? So you can think of Octave as a platform to like help you establish kind of that core context under all your go-to-market motions. And some of those bits are like, who are the personas? What are the use cases? What are your capabilities? Who are your reference customers and proof points, right? So like all of that stuff, we give you a lot of scaffolding and tools to kind of help build those definitions. And then on the back of that platform, oftentimes that stuff is in, static decks and docs, right? So we get it into Octave where you have that stuff in a brain, and then on the back of that, help you build agents to do really specific jobs. For example, you might want to use that context to help you qualify leads, right? If we have a brain that really understands who we serve, how we help them, etc., we can qualify leads better. We can enrich leads beyond technographics and firmographics. We can start doing a better job of what are the best value props to talk about. Or obviously our bread and butter, how do we build really, really precise and kind of potent messaging for outbound campaigns? And so I'd say that those are like the main three areas where we're helping customers a lot right now.
Can you also like actually send emails from the tool, or
So
you need another tool for that?
Great question. So we don't control those pipes. So you can think of us as our tooling is a lot around like creating these definitions and these building blocks and giving you really quick ways to test different messaging ideas and and iterate very, very quickly. And then all the agents, they are become available via APIs. So majority of our customers end up wiring us in through Clay and connecting us to like whatever their sending infrastructure is like that. But we also have people connect us through Make or N8N or Cargo or Flocker or Databar or custom integrations themselves. Like you can imagine, lots of different ways you can connect us into your stack, but we aren't trying to take control of any of the sending infrastructure that you already have.
Can we connect that to what would be my first question, which is a problem that you see GTM teams facing nowadays? Is that based on something you observed? You kind of touched on that. Maybe we should elaborate
Mhm.
a bit, but it may also be something else. But um, is there a problem that you see, most GTM teams facing nowadays? And like, is that one of the reasons why you're building, like to solve for that problem?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think like what we observed is a lot of pieces of this like modern stack that is emerging. It's getting easier and easier to automate and orchestrate and use APIs and even use coding assistants now to create custom orchestration and all kinds of things. And what we found in this space, that context that often flows through the veins is this kind of core, like fundamental, like, what the heck are we talking about? What do we sell? What's the story? Who are we trying to talk? Who are we trying to engage with? Right? Like that's why we're building all these systems. And so like what got us really excited about building Octave was like, hey, if we can give that story orchestration, right? Can we give the narrative and how you talk to, hey, we want to talk to fintech companies very different than B2B SaaS companies or different than insurance companies or hospitality companies or whatever it is, right? And so like we're trying to help you orchestrate this piece of the puzzle that I think until now you really couldn't. It was just the job of humans to go sit in conference rooms, get on Zoom calls and be like, what's our story? How do we talk to people? Let's put that into Notion and Google Docs and PowerPoints. And it gets in all these places. Or most of the time, it's just like in somebody's head, right? And you couldn't really orchestrate the message into this kind of modern stack. And so that's like the problem that got us really excited was like, oh, okay, can we give you tooling around this really essential kind of the atomic units like underneath all this that then you can do you can solve a lot of problems from there. Can we help you iterate faster? Can we help people that are non-technical that don't know the infrastructure but have context, your sales and marketing and PMM leaders, can we bring them into the fold and help them contribute to this process and help you build more effective campaigns and whatnot? So like that's what really got us excited.
So let me know if I get this right. The
Yeah.
problem is that there isn't, or there wasn't at least, a centralized way of like how do we go to market, like what's our messaging when we go to market for all these different segments and whatnot. Um, and there were like scattered resources here and there, Notion, Google Docs, like Slack, whatever it may be. And that, I guess, creates frustration when GTM teams finally go to market. Um, and that also, I guess, reflects to the results they get, which may not be,
Yeah.
the results they want because the message in many cases doesn't land. And so a way to fix that is by having a centralized base where you can like have all these agents do the heavy lifting for you of making the message crystal clear, by segment and so on and so forth. Is that close to
Yeah,
like?
yeah. I think you nailed it. Impressive feat given I know I can just be abstract with these concepts. So yeah, I think you nailed it. And maybe the easiest way for people to visualize is like you can think of, there's still a very, very small percent of the world that's like using these modern techniques and kind of running this modern playbook. You can think of like your classic organization today, they're still stuck in a world of like templates with variables, right? And
Yes.
merge fields from CRM. And everyone can just imagine like, okay, how do you tell a unique story when you're trying to take merge fields from a list into a static template? And it's just like, we all know that has limitations, and it causes all types of problems with like spam and deliverability if you're sending the same message to everybody too, right? So there's other side effects like that. But even just in think of like, yeah, how do we want to talk to an HR person at a retailer? Like we want to talk to them completely differently than like if you run HR at a SaaS company. Like your whole world is different. Maybe you're even that same persona, but it's not just the persona, it's the persona and the industry and the use case and what's the problem set based on the type of work you do and what your company might sell, and like all those things, right, contribute to like how we think about the problem is much more about like contextualization over personalization, right? It's like people don't necessarily want to know, they don't want to be told things about themselves they already know. Like what they want to hear is like, hey, how do you identify a problem that people just like me face? And do you have a unique approach? And like, that's what we're trying to give you a really precise and more scientific way of achieving.
That makes sense. So I guess the main message is the email template is dead.
Yeah. I
And
think,
so yeah, you use a tool like yours to revive it. But um, let me ask, like, do you use Octave to go to market? Like, I mean, for
it's
you,
funny.
for
Yeah,
your
for us,
company.
uh, the answer is right now, I'll be truthful. We're using it only a very little bit just because I'm trying to scale up the team, and we are fortunate right now. Like we are working with a lot of customers and have a lot of inbound. But yes, I mean we're gearing up to obviously drink our own champagne and do a lot of cool stuff we're planning. But at the moment, no one's getting emails from us right now. But that's all right. Of
Okay, I'd like to see a case study, you know, for like for the company, like using the tool for your own benefit.
course.
Okay, that makes sense. I'd like to shift gears a bit, and like we discussed the problem, that's clear. Let's discuss a trend that you see that ideally is not AI, right, and agents and whatnot. It may be that this is the trend, but a trend that also may be something that not many people pay attention to, and that they should. So, what do you have for us?
I think like one thing is, yeah, there's so much talk about AI and the tech and the tools and the system, and it's all really exciting. Obviously, like I'm betting the farm on the possibilities of AI. I think what's probably underappreciated is like a couple things. I think people are not talking as much about how AI is going to truly change organizations and teams. I think like the like the conversation is like AI is going to kill jobs. Like that's all people talk about, not as much about like, I think go to market teams specifically. I think we're going to go from this world of like I always talk about like we're shifting from a world of like infantry and artillery of like you had to staff these large teams and all these specialists in different roles and you had to march into battle, and like I think we're going from infantry and artillery to SEAL Team 6. Like you're not going to have sales specialists for every single product line, and you're not going to have field marketing and industry marketing and content, like all of these things. It just feels to me like we are going to collapse into these like much denser, much more collaborative, like these full stack teams. And obviously that is like in parallel with like how the tools and AI, the technology itself is evolving. But I think that's probably like a underappreciated trend that like we're seeing early signs of it already. They are hiring less SDRs. Like the SDR isn't going to go away, but they're going to hire less. And then you're seeing more of these like growth roles emerging, and these growth people are taking on more and more and more of like I've now talked to a lot of organizations where like sales development and lifecycle marketing and like these other things, like they're all feeding through these growth roles. I think there's something really interesting happening there that's a trend I would bet on accelerating dramatically over the next year.
Yeah, and you see like many of these new roles, right? GTM engineers, and like some of the ones that you mentioned, like marketing intelligence and whatnot. And I think to your like point earlier about, I think that in general, it's human nature to like overestimate the downside of like a new technology like AI, and
Hmm.
underestimate the upside just because we can't see it. We can't
Hmm.
really envision at this point.
Hmm.
Like they couldn't envision, most people at least couldn't like see how big the internet would be, right? Many,
Exactly.
many years ago.
Hmm.
I think it's the same. I don't think we can see where AI can beat us, and like how it can grow, and like what kind of positions and roles can emerge from this
Hmm.
new technology, right?
Yep.
So I think the default here is to be afraid, and like to especially if you like consume content like that's clickbait, and
Hmm.
like AI is going to take away jobs, and to a certain extent that's true, right? But that's not the whole story.
Yeah.
um okay, last question I have is regarding a growth tactic that
Hmm.
either you have applied or that you've seen, and ideally, like
Hmm.
what went into like designing this experiment or tactic, and then the results, and so on. Whatever you can share with us.
Hmm. One thing I've been maybe sharing, like a little bit of some of what our customers are doing that we're really excited to see, is we've been working with several larger customers that have PLG motions. And obviously there's this everybody that's getting signed up for a product, they're getting put in your, as you can imagine, um, life cycle marketing, hey, it's like onboarding the product. Here's 1, 2, 3 steps, right? Like all of that, great. What we're seeing and helping companies do is stand up what I would call these like more sophisticated like sales assist motions that they run in parallel, right? So like you're still reaching out to these people with like, hey, here's resources and guides and knowledge and maybe some next actions to take. And how are we also approaching them from a sales angle with a little more of a push towards get in touch with us, try this, can I help you? But using product level data, product signals, lots more enrichments to then these two things in parallel. So like one customer that's now doing this, they're doing things like you don't just have your life cycle marketing talking to them about your product. You can enrich these people and you can see, hey, we have certain product data. We might know what features they're using. We've also enriched them, and we might know based on technographic enrichments, they're using one of our competitors, right? And so you can imagine if you can shape that, and that's part of what we're helping with, if you can shape that context into an additional message to that person, they're going to go, wow, like this company, I just signed up for their product and they've done their homework. Like they have some hypotheses and like some perspective already about me. And so we're seeing companies start to do that, and we're helping several deploy these like very, high touch, highly contextualized, sales assist motions for their PQLs. And one customer in particular, they saw like after deploying this, they saw a over 30% increase in meetings booked from that, right? And that was just those two strategies going in parallel where it felt to the customer like, hey, yeah, I'm getting all this, and somebody's done their homework about me. They know something. Okay, I'm willing to engage more. So I think that's again, not like wildly novel, but I think what's amazing now is like the speed at which you can deploy this stuff, the speed at which like you can collect all these different pieces of data, have everything instrumented, feed it to an Octave agent, and like, these are things that you can go live within a week, where like if you imagined 2 years ago, even like the possibility of doing this and like the systems and tooling and like it would be months of work and be so expensive. And like that's something definitely we're leaning into and going to be building a lot more product around.
Where do you see the biggest like use cases for that? In what stages? I mean, could it be like acquisition? The one you mentioned, I guess, is acquisition because you mentioned meetings booked, but could it also be activation? Like once like they sign up, then you reach
Totally.
out and like you make sure that they start using the product, right?
100%. Yeah, yeah. It can be shapeshifted and kind of manifested in a lot of ways. But like, what's really cool, and maybe tying it back to the world of yesterday of like static templates. Like, this is the stuff you couldn't do in a static template. Like, you couldn't be in a world where like, hey, I have the context of like you might be using a competitor, you use these features in a product, and oh, there's another team at your company that is actually using us a little bit. Like, that's incredibly rich data that like I can transform into a completely unique message for you. And like that was simply in the tools of yesterday, in the one to many drop-in variable. Like you could never do outreach with like that level of like thought and sophistication. And like that's what's really cool. And so yeah, you're totally right. That can be at any place along the funnel. How are we making sure that like we're adding value, we're being thoughtful, our customers know we've done our homework, we're here to help. Here's the problems we can solve in a unique way. And like that's I think the power of all this.
I had a conversation a couple of months ago with a founder, co-founder at a company, and they were getting, I think, a very big number of signups per month. Like, I think it was 20,000, the number he mentioned, and that they are not doing anything with this, like
Yeah.
signups. And that's a huge opportunity, right? Because you need to ensure that these folks are actually going to start using the product and like and whatnot. And I could see a use case for a
Yeah.
tool like the one you're building for something like that, right? Um, which I think we take for like we don't pay as much attention to because I guess all our focus as marketers very often is in on acquisition, and then we
Mhm.
forget everything else that
Yeah.
comes after that. Um,
Yeah. This
yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
I mean that's not uncommon. I talk to people all the time. Where I hear it most is like almost every company at scale, like they have an unbelievable amount of like MQL leads that they're just not getting touched at all. And because they're very reliant on this like this old world of like infantry and artillery and like we dump all these like activities come into Salesforce and then you're reliant on like, okay, some AE or SDR that's just being drowned in activities and notifications in Salesforce, and they get to, they have agency to choose like, what am I going to focus on? What am I going to do? And it's like, I've talked to many, many companies who have like thousands of MQLs per month, but just like they don't get touched. And it's like, well, why don't we do something with that? Like, oh, we can have systems now that like, great, like no one needs to touch it. Like we can provide air cover for the entire sales team of getting these people into, again, yeah, just really high quality, high touch, really thoughtful campaigns. Don't ask people for time, just let them know we know you, we have a perspective, we think we solve problems that you might be facing. We're here. Can I send you some info? Can I send you a video? Can I tell you other customers we work with in your segment? Like there's all these things that again like aren't rocket science, but now you can deploy so much faster, so much easier, and you get results, like it's working.
one thing, like I made a mistake. I should have reached out to you before we do this recording to ask to prepare for a demo of the tool because I would like to show people what that actually looks like, right? But anyway, that maybe next time.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Um, so what's the call to action? Where should people go to? How they can connect with you? Say hi
Yeah,
if they'd like to.
absolutely. Please say hi. You can find me on LinkedIn, Zach Vidibor. Please go to our site. You can try Octave for free. We are a PLG motion. We have a PLG motion as well. So octavehq.com, go sign up, check it out. please reach out. Let me know what you think. We're obviously hungry for feedback and insights and what people think of the app and how they might use it for their teams. But yeah, that's all. I'm hunting for feedback and users, and please reach out directly. You'll hear back from me, I promise.
Zach, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.